Hi friends, my name is Miss Holly. Welcome to our Out and About story time from the Chesapeake Public Library. We're here in City Park at the Farmers Market. Hi Miss Holly! Who's that? It's Little Green Worm. Hello Little Green Worm. Well, how are you today? I'm fine and I'm so excited. We're going to see my favorite thing today. Do you know what Little Green Worm's favorite thing is? Can you guess? It's his house. If you guessed apple, you're right. Here at the farmer's market, there's lots of apples. Let's go find some. Okay, Little Green Worm, let's go find some. I'd like to read to you a story about apples. This is called Apple Trouble. It's written by Ragenhild Scammell and published by Scholastic. Hedgehog had just finished building her winter nest under the old apple tree. Not too large and not too small, just right for a long winter sleep. Suddenly, a juicy red apple landed on her back. Ouch! Squeaked Hedgehog. She curled into a spiny ball, hoping it would fall off. But when she uncurled, the juicy red apple was still there. Hedgehog tried to squeeze herself and the apple into the beautiful new nest. But could she get in? No, she could not. With the apple on her back, the nest was too small. Oh dear. Squirrel, hurrying past with an armful of brown nuts, stopped to help. Stand still, I'll push the apple off, he said. And he pushed, and he struggled, and he heaved, and he tugged. But the juicy red apple stayed where it was. Worse still, 3 of Squirrel's brown nuts got caught in Hedgehog's spines. So now she had a juicy red apple and 3 brown nuts on her back. Oh dear, wailed Hedgehog. Winter is coming and I can't get into my nest. What will I do? Try rolling on your back, snorted Pig, trotting up. That will get rid of it all. Hedgehog threw herself on the ground. Her little legs paddled in the air as she twisted and wriggled and rolled. Has it all gone? She asked hopefully, scrambling to her feet. Pig shook his head. No, the juicy red apple and the 3 brown nuts were still there. So were a small green pear and a crumpled brown leaf. Oh dear, sighed Hedgehog, rolling her eyes. But up in the sky, sailing towards Hedgehog, she saw a colorful piece of paper. Oh no, she cried. This way and that she ran as fast as she could. This way and that drifted the paper. And landed right on her back between the apple and the 3 brown nuts. It's not fair, cried Hedgehog, who now had a juicy red apple, 3 brown nuts, a small green pear, a crumpled brown leaf, and a colorful piece of paper on her back. I'll never get into my nest. Hedgehog pattered to the pond and gazed at her reflection in the water. Hello, Hedgehog. That's a lot of stuff on your back, croaked Frog. Humph! I'm trying to get rid of it, sniffed Hedgehog. Dive, said Frog. That will wash it off. Hedgehog dipped a foot into the murky water and dived. Splash! Her friends watched Hedgehog bobbing up and down. The juicy red apple, the 3 brown nuts, the small green pear, the crumpled brown leaf, and the colorful piece of paper were still there. So was a pink water lily. Glug, 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 gurgled Hedgehog as the others heaved her out of the water. She did look funny. But Hedgehog did not find it funny. "Stop laughing!" she sputtered and stamped her feet on the ground. Where am I going to sleep?" Pig and Squirrel looked worried. So did Frog. "I have one last idea," oinked Pig. "Squeeze through that hedge over there. That'll brush everything off." So Hedgehog closed her eyes and squeezed herself through the thick leaves. But did it get everything off her back? No, it did not. It was all still there. So were 4 red blackberries. And there, staring at her with a great look of surprise, stood Goat. "Ooh," cried Goat, "you've brought lunch." "Help yourself," said Hedgehog. "Take it all." "Yippee!" brayed Goat. Then he picked off and ate the juicy red apple, the 3 brown nuts, the small green pear, the pink water lily, and the 4 ripe blackberries. For dessert, he ate the paper. The only thing he left was the crumpled brown leaf. He just couldn't eat any more. "Hurrah!" cried Hedgehog. She felt as light as a feather. "Thank you, Goat," she said. And then she ran as fast as her little legs could carry her, through the gate, past the pond, across the orchard, under the tree, and home to her nest. Hedgehog squeezed into her little nest. It fit her perfectly, and it was the best nest ever. Outside, a cold wind blew another apple off the tree, but it didn't fall on Hedgehog. She was safe in her nest and fast, fast asleep. The end. Friends, I'd like to tell you another story on my flannel board. Once upon a time, there was an apple tree. It grew in Mr. Bingley's garden. When the apples were red and ripe, Mr. Bingle said, "Oh, good! Now it's time to bake a pie." Every day he would pick an apple and he would peel it and slice it and cover it with pastry and bake it in the oven until it was done. Then he would sprinkle it with sugar, smother it with cream, and it was so delicious. But after a while, there was only 1 apple left. It was at the top of the tree. It was red and juicy and enormous. And Mr. Bingley couldn't pick it. "Oh, botheration," he said. "That apple is much too high. However will I pick it to put it in a pie? I don't have a ladder." "I know, I'll use the kitchen stool." So Mr. Bingle climbed on top of the kitchen stool. He stood on tiptoes and he reached up his arms as high as he could and he stretched and he still couldn't reach that apple. "Botheration," said Mr. Bingle. "That enormous apple is just too high. However will I pick it and put it in a pie?" "Use my flower pot," said the nice old lady from next door. She put her flower pot, the enormous flower pot, on top of the kitchen stool. Mr. Bingle climbed on that flower pot, the enormous flower pot, on top of the kitchen stool, and he stood on his tiptoes, and he reached up his arms, and he stretched, and he reached, and he still couldn't reach that enormous apple. "Botheration," said Mr. Bingle. "That apple is much too high. However will I pick it and put it in a pie?" "Use my wooden hutch," said the small gray rabbit. So Mr. Bingle stood on the hutch on top of the enormous flower pot on top of the kitchen stool, and he stood on his tiptoes, and he reached up his arms, and he stretched, and he reached, and he stretched, and he reached, and he still couldn't reach that apple. Botheration, said Mr. Bingle. That apple is much too high. However will I reach it to put it in a pie? Use my basket, said the little black kitten with a white paw. So Mr. Bingle stood on the kitten's basket on top of the wooden hutch, on top of the flower pot, that enormous flower pot on top of the kitchen stool, and he stood on his tiptoes, and he reached up his arms, and he stretched, and he reached, and he reached, and he stretched, and he still couldn't reach that enormous apple. Botheration, said Mr. Bingle. That apple is much too high. However will I pick it to put it in the pie? Small brown mouse came scurrying by. What's all this fuss and commotion, he said. It's the stool that you're needing. They all looked at him and said, but we are using the stool. It's there at the bottom. No, you silly Billy, said the mouse. It's not at the bottom you're needing it. It's at the top. Pull out the stool and put it on the top. So the nice old lady from next door grabbed hold of the stool, and the rabbit grabbed hold of her apron strings, and the kitten grabbed hold of the rabbit's tail. And the little mouse said, I'll stay ready, steady, pull. And then when I say pull, you pull with all your might and roll out that stool and put it on the top. Ready? No, said Mr. Bingle. Steady. Stop, said Mr. Bingle. Go. No, help, said Mr. Bingle. And they pulled out the stool, and down fell the flower pot. Down fell the rabbit hutch. Down fell the kitten's basket. And down fell Mr. Bingle. Poor Mr. Bingle! He landed with a thump at the bottom of the tree. He landed so hard that the tree quivered and shook, and the branches went back and forth, and that enormous apple at the top of the tree went back and forth and back and forth until its stem broke and the apple fell. And Mr. Bingle held out his hands and caught the apple. There, said the little mouse. See, I told you it was the kitchen stool you'd be needing. So Mr. Bingle took that apple, peeled it, sliced it, covered it with pastry, put it in the oven until it was done. It was such an enormous apple that it made enough pie for Mr. Bingle, the nice lady from next door, the gray rabbit, the little black kitten with a white paw, and that clever little mouse. They sprinkled it with sugar, smothered it with cream, and they all said, ah, perfectly delicious. The end. Tap the Magic Tree by Christy Matheson and published by Green Willow Books. There's magic in this bare brown tree. Tap it once, turn the page to see. Tap again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now tap again, even more. Rub the tree to make it warm. Touch each bud and see what forms. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Give the tree a little jiggle. That's it. Now make your fingers wiggle. Can you wiggle your fingers like this? Brush away the petals. Swish! And blow the tree a tiny kiss. Can you blow the tree a kiss? Mwah! Shake the tree. Plop, 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 kerplock. Knock, knock on the trunk. Then stop. What fell down? The apples fell off the tree. Pat the leaves. Be gentle, please. What's that right there? The squirrel took the apples and ate them. Aha! Now blow a whooshing breeze. Let's blow together. 1, 2, 3. Are we going to blow the leaves away? Look at that! Clap your hands to bring the snow. Okay, be patient. Wait, don't go. Close your eyes and count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Magic! It begins again. The end. Hey friends, here we are at the farmer's market. This is farm chicks, and look what they have. There's all kinds of vegetables and grapes, plums. Oh, here are the apples. Lots of apples. There's red, delicious apples, and there's gala apples, Honeycrisp, delicious. Oh, they're all so great. So many different colors, and they taste so great. And look, you can make things with the apples too. There's apple bread, and they've got apple fritters too. Oh, it's so good. And Mr. Farmer, I'd like to buy some apples today.
No, you got the shirt. Yes, ma'am. How can I help you?
Hi, sir. I'd like to buy some apples today. May I have 2 of the Honeycrisp apples?
Honeycrisp. Good choice. 2 of these delicious
2
Honeycrisp.
apples.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Wonderful. Well, friends, goodbye for now. Thank you for coming to our Out and About story time. Find this and other story times on the Chesapeake Public Library's website. That's chesapeakelibrary.org. I'm going to go home now and eat my apple. Bye for now.